Hello everyone. I wanted to give you lesson 4, which is the next lesson in our group of A Course in Miracles lessons, and continuing on with the whole idea of undoing all of what we've learned in our lives and opening up for later on when we start to accept and learn new concepts in how to live a better life, really. So I will just ask you again to be open, to let go of any assumptions of knowing anything, really. Just let go of that and be open to seeing things in a new way, learning things that are different from what you may have learned in the past. And so let's do the lesson. These thoughts do not mean anything. They are like the things I see in this room, on this street, from this window, and in this place. Unlike the preceding ones, these exercises do not begin with the idea for the day. In these practice periods, begin with noting the thoughts that are crossing your mind for about a minute. Then apply the idea to them. If you're already aware of unhappy thoughts, use them as subjects for the idea. Do not, however, select only the thoughts you think are bad. You will find, if you train yourself to look at your thoughts, that they represent such a mixture that, in a sense, none of them can be called good or bad. This is why they do not mean anything. So this is taking judgment right out of your thoughts, which is it's a big lesson. It's a really big lesson. In selecting the subjects for the application of today's idea, the usual specificity is required. Do not be afraid to use good thoughts as well as bad. None of them represents your real thoughts, which are being covered up by them. The good ones are but shadows of what lies beyond, and shadows make sight difficult. The bad ones are blocks to sight and make seeing impossible. You do not want either. This is a major exercise and will be repeated from time to time in somewhat different form. The aim here is to train you in the first steps toward the goal of separating the meaningless from the meaningful. It is a first attempt in the long-range purpose of learning to see the meaningless as outside you and the meaningful within. It is also the beginning of training your mind to recognize what is the same and what is different. In using your thoughts for application of the idea for today, identify each thought by the central figure or event it contains. For example, this thought about blank does not mean anything. It is like the things I see in this room, on this street, and so on. You can also use the idea for a particular thought that you recognize as harmful. This practice is useful, but is not a substitute for the more random procedures to be followed for the exercises. Do not examine your mind for more than a minute or so. You are too inexperienced as yet to avoid a tendency to become pointlessly preoccupied. Further, these exercises are the first of their kind. You may find the suspension of judgment in connection with thoughts particularly difficult. Do not repeat these exercises more than 3 or 4 times during the day. We will return to them later. So 3 or 4 times during the day. Don't get too caught up in it. Again, really just sort of relax into it and just let them take a very natural sort of direction as you're doing it. But it is really important to use both positive and negative thoughts because as it says, the good ones can sort of cover up the shadows, or what, the bad stuff, for want of a better word, the bad stuff, all the emotions, all the blocks to love that we're talking about in letting go of in the Course. The good thoughts can sometimes shadow what's lying beneath it that we perhaps don't want to look at. So try and use both. Try and do it 3 to 4 times a day. Don't get too stressed about it. And, you know, if you don't do it 4 times, it's not the end of the world. Don't judge it. Part of the lesson. You know, you may get thoughts about not doing it properly or not doing it the number of times that you're supposed to be doing it. That can also be used in the lesson. So just go with it, and you know, don't put too many constraints on yourself. And I'll be back tomorrow with lesson 5. How exciting. Have a great day.